Hey there folks, Champeska bringing another audio commentary, and today we have a game between Infi and Ted on Turtle Rock, and it is close position spawn, and Infi's going for the Militia Scout. We're only 11 seconds into this game, and it's already going terribly poorly for Ted, I'm afraid. Ted really been playing so fantastically recently. I don't think you've ever seen him play as well as he's been playing recently, and I've really been loving his games. And it looks like Infi is going to scout out that they are close spawn, and will he bring in loads of militia? Yes, he is bringing in loads of militia now, and so Ted in a lot of trouble. He needs to keep this cigarette up, and it looks like Infi's now going to send his first militia there. And what's Ted doing with this goal? Looks like Ted's going for a block here, is that right? Yeah, Ted's going for a block. Oh my god, can he keep it up? Oh, what excellent play there by Ted, just managing to keep all these militia far from the back, far from reaching the cigarette, and then the cigarette is now up. It has better armor, it can now be repaired, and it can be turned into a tower as well. It's really nice play there by Ted, and that's gone really well for him. And meanwhile, Infi only 2 peasants in his base. It looks like he called one more militia as well, and so he will be just trying to go for this attack, but he must be starting to realize now that it's fruitless. His militia are turning back into peasants, and he will need to turn around and get back to his own base. And oh wow, what excellent early game play there by Ted. As I say, Ted's just been playing so fantastically recently, and it looks like Ted's gone for 7 acolytes. That's really bold of him. Obviously, he thinks there's going to be a lot of pressure. Obviously, these two players know each other really well, so perhaps Ted knows that Infi likes to go for a lot of early pressure here. And let's see what hero Infi's actually making. Infi's making the Archmage, which suggests he won't be going for pressure, but instead he'll be going for tech. Just because the Archmage is not a great hero at level 1. You really need to give it some time to level up. Ideally level 3. You definitely want Brilliant Aura, so you definitely want level 2. You don't really want to be playing with a level 1 Archmage, especially against someone else, but creeping with it is okay. And it looks like Ted finally has the lumber to put up his Tome of Relics. He was in a bit of lumber trouble. Actually, he continues to be in lumber trouble just because he used that ghoul at the beginning to block, and then later to attack, and he has a late crypt as well, so he's really going to be struggling for lumber here. And it looks like Ted, he has 2 spare acolytes, so he can use one to scout. He can actually sacrifice it into sort of a convenient location for him, and that's sort of an instant skeleton for when he comes into the battle. But it looks like this Death Knight is in here, and the Archmage isn't out yet, and it looks like, ooh, Ted actually gets the deny there on that Acolyte. Really nice play there by him. Obviously no point in coiling it. Instead, Ted will probably coil the Archmage. That is his sort of standard strategy. Yep, there's the coil up there. And Ted just really likes to do a lot of damage to the Archmage. He just keeps on coiling it. He right-clicks skeletons on it. Obviously he doesn't have his skeletons yet because his Tome of Relics was late, but it is coming up now, and he probably will buy some skeletons later. And wow, really good play there by Ted, just early game. Really so solid. You see some undead players completely crumble under that pressure, and Ted just played it so well. He used his ghoul to block those militia, and that really just kept him in the game, because it meant that cigarette just had the building armor rather than the constructing armor, and that was just so useful. And it looks like Ted now getting out his first fiend with 3 ghouls, so it looks like Ted's actually transitioning into standard play now, which is quite nice to see. And meanwhile, Infi is going to continue to push. He actually, Ted has no experience, and neither does Infi at this point, and looks like Infi's just going to be running around trying to keep Ted busy. Has Infi started his tech? Infi has started his tech already, and actually has done a significant bit of checking, but Ted now does have skeletons, so he can really chase away Infi, and Infi now needs to be careful, maybe doing some militia creeping or something. Actually, Infi has peasants here attacking these trees. Is he going to go for one of those sneaky tower rushes that he likes to go for? Perhaps that's what his plan is. That would be very nice by Infi. I'm not sure. It's presumably something Ted's not expecting, which is why he's doing it. But it looks like this might actually get scouted out now, and that would be so bad luck for Infi. No, it looks like either Ted pretends not to notice or he doesn't notice. Obviously, pretending not to notice would be a nice strategy, but Ted has bought a sacrificial skull, so it looks like he's going for a tower rush. Can you believe it? It's so hard to tower rush a human, just because they can always bring in loads of militia, and just Ted needs to play so passively now. I mean, you'd think like, ooh, aggression is the #1 thing to get those towers up, but it doesn't actually matter if the towers get cancelled at this point. You need to take down the units, especially considering Infi is teching. He can't rebuild this militia, and so we really need to see some very strong micro from Ted here if he wants to have those pan out for him. I think Ted not teching at the moment, obviously going for that tower rush, which is such an odd choice, to be honest. I mean, since he did have that tower rush sort of cancelled there, he probably should have just spent the resources on teching instead, but instead it looks like he's going to continue with this push. He has got a couple peasant kills now, as well as I think a water elemental as well, and so it looks like Infi being chased away, but Infi has got a small amount of experience himself, still level 1 though, and that's just so bad. As I say, it's just you really don't want to be fighting with level 1 Archmage. Maybe that's why Ted went for that push. Meanwhile, these 2 peasants, you can just see here, are continuing to attack trees here, and I guess they're going to be putting up towers. it'd be interesting to see exactly how Infi decides to play this. But it looks like Ted's going to continue using his skeletons in sort of the suicidal manner that he loves. And will this one militia go down? I assume Infi has the APM to... Yes, Infi just managed to save that one militia, but more skeletons being sent in, and I think that might be end of days for that one militia. Although actually some nice blocking there by Infi, meaning that Ted can't quite get through at the moment. And you can see Ted even brought a ghoul, despite the fact that he's going for fiends, just because he wanted to keep up that aggression. And Ted now putting down some more ziggurats, so we'll be able to try this tower push again. But Infi is now tier 2, getting his Mountain King out, and getting a blacksmith out as well. That could well be for a workshop, which is a really popular choice in this situation, because you can just get some mortar teams and just destroy the towers from range. And we'll have to see whether or not that's what Infi goes for at this point, because I don't think he'll be going for rifles. He might well, but I doubt it. And actually, is Ted still tier 1? Ted is still tier 1, so any air would be quite nice at this point, because the undead has nothing that can attack air apart from these towers, but obviously just stay out of the range of the towers, and since there's no web, that'd be a pretty nice choice for Infi, but it looks like that isn't what he's going for. And the Mountain King is now out, and Ted doing some really nice micro. Obviously, he has hit level 2, so he does have his aura, which just helps with micro so much. And looks like, I'm not sure what Infi's trying to chase down. Look, he chases down one feed, but sort of gives up on it. I guess because he knows that Ted will just coil it, but it seems a bit futile at this point. And looks like Infi forgetting about one footman for a bit too long, but looks like it will... Oh no, it doesn't get away in the end. And another footman here in a bit of trouble, but Infi looks like he's aware of this and is... just trying to keep Ted busy at this point to try and let his tier 2 advantage play out a bit. But Ted does now have some... towers down, has a crypt and a tome of relics going down as well. Obviously tome of relics for the skeletons, and crypt is a nice thing to block with for a start, but Infi does have a workshop going down now, so Ted really on the clock. He really needs to start playing a bit more aggressively than he has been, and Ted needs to perhaps be willing to lose some fiends, and you can see that actually there's one fiend does go down, although not by Ted's choice. He just got a bit surrounded there, and Ted actually with his Mountain King, is definitely a bit of a bad position, but Bolt being used really nicely in conjunction with Militia, obviously doing a lot of damage to those fiends, and it looks like Infi just trying to keep Ted distracted so he couldn't cancel his workshop. The workshop is now out, and we are seeing a first mortar team coming out for Infi, but it is looking pretty bad for Infi, so wow, what play here by Ted, really just controlling this game from start to finish, knowing exactly what tricks Infi was likely to pull, and then knowing exactly how to beat them. And I'm surprised that Infi didn't know that Ted was going to go for that block, considering how well they must know each other's play by now. And maybe do some better micro or something of that, or try and surprise Ted by not doing that. That would have been a really nice trick if he had just brought that one militia over. Ted had sort of brought his ghoul out, wasted loads of lumber mining, and then it turned out that Infi wasn't even going to bring his the rest of his militia, and then Ted would have wasted a whole bunch of lumber mining. This first Mountain King, mortar team is out, but Infi just at such low hero levels, he says GG, and that's probably for the best. So what a game by Ted. Actually turned out to be quite a short game, so I'll probably bring you a second game. Just check around. I'll probably have another game, maybe a Ted game actually. He's been playing so fantastically. So yeah, I'll see you in a minute, folks.